Hey, everybody. That is Gary Smith.
Hello there.
That is Kaz Kenny.
Kapow!
And I am Eddie Bramble, and this is episode 66 of the Black Water's Edge podcast. 66.
Coming in hot on 70.
Almost. We're not quite there yet. We're working on it. Like you said, I want to hit 100.
I think we're at 100 with no problem. I'm just wondering, what do you think would be a legitimate guess as to how many podcasts we may get before it's over? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
That's a lot to do with how you act.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I was behaving pretty good today, though, right?
I'm just saying.
We will go as
keep
long
that
as
in mind.
people want us to keep going. That's the way I look at
There
it.
you go. That's right. So, look, folks, I'm not sure if you've ever been to Angler Sports Center up there on Route 50 in Annapolis, but let me tell you what. They've got an amazing stock of fishing tackle. They've got some great apparel up there you can get your hands on. Bait, fishing line, all kinds of snakehead lures. Stop in there, say hi to Mike and Lindsay and everybody out there, Alex and all them guys doing all the live feeds and things for anglers. It's awesome what you guys are doing, and a lot of people are paying attention. We're very grateful to have them as our headline sponsor this year for our tournament trail. So thank you very much, Angler Sports Center in Annapolis. And look, how's the fishing been? Everybody wants to know, right? It's been pretty hot. It's hot outside, and the fishing's been pretty good. So I'm not sure what happened, but it's like a light switch has flipped in the last 2 weeks. And it is really coming to life down here.
I think they've come off the spawn a little bit, too.
I think so, too. I think you got the fry balls. They're out guarding them. We're seeing lots of that. As far as other fish go, a few bass are being caught, not many. Haven't heard much on the bluegill and crappie front at all so far in the last couple of weeks. Not much of anything. Catfish, lots of catfish.
Lots.
If you like carp, there is certainly plenty of carp around right now if you want to get your hands on some of them. Catfish, if you're into some brown bullheads, they've been catching a few over at Key Wallace. Not a lot, but those are them little catfish like this. And I love them because it's like eating a chicken when you just snap the head right off and just pull the skin right off. It's like, what are the ones that they sell up at Cool Ice?
Why? How is it like eating a chicken wing when you got to snap the head off?
No.
When have you
man?
ever had to snap the head off of a chicken wing? I just want to know that.
Well, when I was a boy, I think I was like 3 or 4. I remember this far back at my great-grandparents' place in Virginia. And that was one of the things that we did. We snapped the heads off of chicken wings down there. So, that's just something I learned as a child.
All my chickens had heads.
That's what I was
a wing, but hey,
I've never seen a wing with a head on it. That's
I've never seen a Virginia
Being
chicken.
that we're talking about this, I got to tell you, I
was.
was scared to death of chickens when I was a kid because my great-grandmother had this stump out there. It was the killing stump, she called it. Literally, she would whack that chicken with a hatchet, and, man, it would run around. Blood squirting out the head, and when it fell over, she'd run over and grab that thing like it was nothing, just start pulling the feathers out.
If I was your grandfather, you'd be scared of me. Come here, Cassie. Come here, boy.
But no, I mean, the fish has been pretty good. I mean, all around, if you want to catch some fish, there's certainly plenty out here to catch. Don't be afraid to look in the ditches, okay? Don't be afraid to look. I mean, if there's a spot that that has some fish in it and it's far away from something, you never know what you're going to find in these little gems, Like me and Gary were talking earlier. We had a chance to go up to North Bay today, Adventures up there at top. This is our second time going up there this year. And we've been doing some snakehead seminars up there for the kids, helping them out with stuff. And I'll tell you what, Gary, it's amazing how intrigued these kids are about the stuff that we're sharing with them, the photos we're showing them, and a little bit of education that we're doing. And
It's science, they like science.
I mean, the cool thing was, listen, so today they were going to go, snorkeling, wasn't it? Snorkeling or something like that. And Gary says, I want to go snorkeling too. They said, you can come on and go anytime you want.
It's cool to be somewhere you can see in the water.
Yeah. We don't really get that around here.
That's what he was telling us. Like, yeah, we can't see nothing down there. So, in the Upper Bay, it's really unfolding, man. A lot of new opportunities are opening up there. It's good to see those that are helping one another, to find their first fish or to get on the fish and learn how to target snakeheads. I think that's really important, and that's kind of why we were doing what we're doing in North Bay, because we want to try to pass that on to the newcomer, and we want to help those people out. So, I always say it all the time, you don't know if you don't go. So, you don't know what you're going to catch unless you get down here and you just go fishing. I know a guy yesterday that I think he wound up with 30-some is what he told me. I know a guy a couple of days ago wound up with a couple over 30. I know that, Gary, you've been out a couple times this week, and you've had some absolute giants, Little Willie, he nailed the canal, you know what I'm saying? So it's been some really good fishing. And Gary, you might just want to touch on some stuff about, maybe what you guys are doing real quick before we get in the podcast. 'Cause a lot of people have been asking me, what's Gary doing? What's Gary throwing? What's going on? How's he catching these big fish? Every time you've been out, you've been nailing fish over 10 pounds.
Yeah, but I haven't been out much. But yeah, every time.
That's the point. So, the guys that are here that are putting time in, they're finding some fish to catch. So, tell them what you've been catching them on.
Yeah, so I took my cousin out the other night, and we took some minnows. We didn't have only 4 or 5 big minnows, and we got this one particular place, and it's usually always a fish there. And I told him, I said, put this minnow on. I said, just cast right up by that stick in the water. And immediately when it hit the water, the bobber just disappeared. And I thought, the minnow pulled it down, but it never came back up. And we're looking, and you can see the bobber about 4 inches under the water. And it was on a snelled hook, which is probably, 6 inches long. And it was about 10 inches of water there. So so the fish basically grabbed it and just went down, sat on the bottom. So we waited about 10, 15 seconds. I told him, go ahead, pull it, see what happens. And it just took off. Just 32.5-inch fish. First snakehead he ever caught.
And you had a couple other you were catching
and then
yourself.
He caught a 16-inch one, kind of brought him back down to earth.
Now, I know you were out here recently with some topwater stuff, doing some things on your own. Talk about what you were using there. I mean,
Buzz baits.
Buzz baits.
Yeah.
And the buzz bait of choice you were using was
the
high octane. You still using them?
High octane. Yeah, they're good buzz baits, man. They just travel across the water nice.
Yeah, we mean to call Steve. We'll get with him after the podcast. Make him remind me about that.
I caught one like 28 and caught another one and that was after shooting hours. Shooting time. It was like the last light, and I hit that buzz bait. And then I caught another one on a minnow.
Now, I know I saw the mayor down there the other day, or ex-mayor, whatever you want to say. Former mayor. How has he caught anything?
Yeah, he's been doing pretty good.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
And then another fellow I know was getting down there and getting on a few. He was getting a few too.
I think Little Willie kind of cleaned out that one spot.
that one. Yeah. I'll tell you, that was a hell of a haul.
He had a good day.
We were sharing with the folks up there at North Bay, some of the stuff, and told the story behind Little Willie and how that all went down. And they were really, really, really just they loved it. We showed the pictures where he's pointing at his fish and just, oh, look at this.
And that's the thing. That place where he was fishing is, I've been there 10 times this year. I caught like 2 fish. Willie goes down there and warps them.
That's fishing.
They were there that day.
Yep, that's all it is.
So before we get into our next guest, let's talk about the land group real quick. If you're down here in Dorchester County or anywhere in the great state of Maryland, hey, look, I got my Maryland Bassrack Outdoors shirt on today. There you go, Kevin. Anyway, if you're anywhere in the state of Maryland and you're looking for land to buy or looking for that retirement place or you're just looking for that special dream that you had, and you're able to bring it together, let me tell you what, my good friend Rob Fryer at the Land Group, he sells dirt, lots of dirt. I don't mean just sells dirt. He sells some dirt with wood, some dirt with fields, some dirt with rivers and streams. So you never know what you're going to find when you reach out to Mr. Fryer.
What about fill dirt?
Dirt and water.
Well, if look, I can tell you right now, if Rob's got an area on the property that you want to have filled and you're buying it, I can promise you he's going to do what he can to get you filled in and get you sold, I think some of the most amazing thing that I like about the way he sells his properties is by the pictures that he takes through trail cameras to show people what's available on those properties. And I don't know if a lot of folks out there do watch. I know a lot of my friends now pay attention to it. And good Lord, there's just some giant bucks and just the turkeys and just the amount of wildlife on some of these places he's selling is unreal. So if you're looking to get into that kind of business, you're looking to guide deer or something like that, want to do some goose hunting, reach out to Rob. He can help you out with stuff. And good, Eddie, why don't you tell me about our first guest?
Yeah, so our guest this week is the winner of the Snakehead Mayhem Tournament, Roman Gorelskyy. Roman, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Don't sound so lively. You sound tired, buddy. With them fishing trips wear you out?
No, I had a long trip for some cobia and some reds, and we tried for some sheephead, and then we sat on bait, and then we looked for them, and then the weather was bad, and it was just, that kind of wore me out. So now I'm just catching up to everything in life. So
let us know how all this happened. Eddie always asks this, so I'm cutting him off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Roman.
So, as you guys already know, a lot of people don't know, I'm originally from Ukraine.
I love the story. I love the story.
15. It's going to be short, so don't make anything. I lived there until the age of 15. My parents were both doctors. They both worked as doctors, but you can imagine how corrupt the place is, because as doctors, we weren't making a good living, and they were high doctors. Then we came to the United States. They work in medical field. I went to school for medicine. I worked in Johns Hopkins for 3 years, and then I found out that IT was something for me. And now, last 3 years, I've been working for the United States government at Aberdeen, doing some computer work and catching some dragons. Here I am.
That's pretty awesome. So you came over here. I mean, I know a lot more of your story and things like that, and I'm always just loving to hear the stories from people. I think that's one of the greatest things that people like about this podcast is some of the just most differential stories that they get to hear.
Absolutely.
I know that you crab, you fish growing up. Tell us a little bit about growing up. I mean, how was it once you got here? I mean, what hobbies did you find? I mean, what got you really, really fired up in fishing? Were you fishing in Ukraine before you came here?
So yeah, I was fishing in Ukraine, and who got me into fishing was my grandfather on my dad's side of the family. He's the only grandparent that's still alive, and I still bring him down to Blackwater, and we fish for carp and snakehead and stuff like that. He's a big outdoorsman in general. When he was a bit younger, when I was growing up in Ukraine, he knew every forest, every piece of woods. He knew where to get wild mushrooms. He knew every stream, every lake, and everything there was to know. So I was always involved in outdoors. And then I came to the United States. I had to slow down on my outdoors. I had to catch up on learning the language, going to school, and a whole bunch of craziness was going on the first 2 years. But my getaway from the craziness as I was living in Baltimore City was to find a fishing rod at the flea market and go down to Inner Harbor and catch white perch and try to catch stuff I didn't even know existed at the time. And then I met some folks, fishing, I met some folks, Solomon, my buddy Solomon, and Chris Collins, and they both put me on some bigger fish. They got me excited with walleye and stripers, and that was the end of that. I mean, now $1,000 a rod, and unlimited amount of money on baits and crazy seven-day trips, and you name it, it's part of it. It's just part of my life.
You mentioned carp, and a lot of folks really snub their nose at carp, and I was one of those guys at one time in my life. What do you guys make with the carp that you guys catch?
So it depends how to clean the carp, how to work the carp. I watched some kind of TV show that back in the day, Asians were the ones who put carp in Europe, and carp in Europe was for the purpose of people feeding on it. That they knew they were going to spread everywhere, and people were going to be able to eat the fish. Carp is not so bad of a fish when you cut out the bloodline and the bone.
Right.
You can fry it. You can make this soup with it. That's very popular, like an outdoorsman. Every time we used to go hunting and fishing with my dad, we used to make the fish stew and so forth. If you know how to cook carp, you can make a really good dish. It's the same thing with deer. If you don't know what you're doing with a deer meat, it will be stinky, it will be tough, and it will not taste good. But if you know how to cook it properly, it will taste actually pretty good. So you can fry
carp
it,
were actually
so you
brought
can
here.
make cakes.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can make pretty much anything with carp that you would make with any other fish. The bad effect of carp is that it does have a lot of those pin bones that you need to learn how to cut them out.
Right.
That's the main thing.
The carp were actually introduced here by Europeans because they were so favored, and then after they got here, they did so well. Everybody was eating them, and the Europeans wanted something better. They thought, because they just became very similar to what the hardheads did here back in the 50s. You couldn't give them away hardly because there were so many of them. And people wanted something different.
Now, I know, Roman, you fish a lot with my cousin Ricky, too. I know that, he's Jewish, and in their culture, I think it's called gefilte fish. Is that what it is?
Gefilte.
I have a lot of Jewish friends, but unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay, see, so whatever the holiday is, I can't remember, they always wanted me to bring them a live carp. And they made it, the dish was called gefilte fish. So I can't remember everything because I was little.
Well, they use carp because the fish has to be alive when the priest blesses it.
Yes.
Yes, that's what carp having to live a long time. You could use a snakehead if you could transport them alive,
right,
as long as it was alive when the priest blessed the fish.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. So where I lived growing up in Hartford Square in Edgewood, we had a neighbor. His name was Mr. Herb, and he was a preacher. And I was bringing him my carp and stuff every time I caught him because I didn't know what to do with them, and I brought a bunch home one day that I was going to eat them, and I didn't know what I was doing. And long story short, I didn't clean them right. I busted mud lines. It tasted like crap. I mean, it was horrible. So Mr. Herb, he was always this guy that watched me, kind of out in the street and stuff like that, kept an eye on me. And I remember one night he said to me, come on down, I got some crab cakes for you. This is a true story. I went down there and I ate what I thought at that time were the best crab cakes in my whole entire life, I swear to God. So we get done. He's like, how'd you like them? I said, man, they're delicious, Mr. Herb. My gosh. I was like, what'd you put in them? He goes, well, that's carp. I said, carp? He said, yeah, remember you was talking to me last week about the fish that you caught and how you ruined it? And that's what he told me. That was the first time I really kind of learned about carp, and it was like everything that you're saying here, the mud lines, the bones, the this, the that, you know? So I know it's a skill to do it. That's why I wanted to ask you, what you guys do with it and what you make with it.
Well, one day I'll come down to Blackwater and I'll make the soup, and I'll have you guys try it. You will not know what it is, and even if you don't taste the fish and just try the soup and the broth, it's absolutely delicious, and it's out of this world.
Well, that's kind of...
Imagine me at the age of 15 when I was fishing for carp in Ukraine and catching one here, one there, because it's not that much fish. It's like I said, it's all corrupt. I was coming down here and people were giving them away. I was like, holy moly, load me up. Like, load up the car. Until, I didn't know what to do with them. And now, honestly, now we don't even eat carp. I mean, I give it away to church and other stuff like that. Fish like snakeheads rolling around, and it's perfectly white, tasty for meat. There's no need to chase for it.
Kind of a little irony in being a gefilte fish. You get to the priest, and the priest blesses you. Then they kill you.
Right. Well, I didn't finish the story with Mr. Herb. So Mr. Herb showed me the carp that were in the trash can, and literally, I don't know how to explain it to you, but your mind plays tricks on you. And all of a sudden, this delicious crab cake that I ate, I could smell it as I was breathing, I thought, once he told me it was carp. Because when I first caught that first carp and hit that mud line, oh my God, the smell was like that methane-y smell of the marsh. You know what I mean? So I ruined it when he told me that it was carp. I got sick. I threw up everywhere. He said, I thought you liked it. I was like, I didn't until you told me it was carp, Mr. Herb. So there's a lot of uses for a lot of fish that a lot of people overlook, and I think that's really cool that you do some stuff like that. Let's talk about where you are today with your fishing. I mean, what I know you go after snakes. What else do you like to catch, Roman?
Man, I catch everything.
Go,
because I live in Baltimore, I go downtown, even literally downtown, and I'll do top water for stripers. You can catch some huge white perch downtown. I mean, it's a good habitat for white perch. I catch somewhat of a decent snakehead. Sometimes the big ones like to bite. Got lucky to go on the Cobia trip. Caught my first bull red. I mean, that was awesome on the medium mud and 4,000.
I saw you cranking that thing, baby.
Oh, that thing was screaming. And my friend, I thought I was going to break that rod, but I put that thing to the test, and it passed. So I pretty much a little bit of everything. I take my grandfather out every time I can. So if he wants to do carp fishing and catfishing and, weight and bait, I'll adjust and I'll do whatever else there is to fish and a little bit of everything.
Blackwater's a great place for carp fishing.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, we come down there a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have, those big, giant 40-pounders like you see up the bay in the gunpowder.
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
You do.
I mean, I've never, I don't think I've ever caught a carp here, and I'm just keeping it real. I don't think I've ever caught a carp here over like 10 pounds.
I think the biggest one I ever caught here was 28 pounds.
There's so many little ones that the big ones don't get a chance to eat the bait. The small ones will get in front of them.
And see, that's kind of what I always wondered, because when I went and I tried here, I had some really, really special spots above Conowingo Dam from shore that you could just stand and just throw a handful of carp out there and then just take your hook and toss it out there as you're watching them feed underneath of you. And I mean, them carp were huge, That's what I was just catching up there. And in the Bush River and in the gunpowder, they're just big carp up there, They grow big. Down here, I just didn't see the size when I started fishing here. And I still have yet to see that personally with my own eyes, a fish 40 pounds here. You know what I mean? I mean, I know they're here like Gary's saying, but maybe that's what it is. Maybe what you just said, the smaller fish get to it before the other fish can get to it too.
Yeah, that's where I bite.
So I know you fished with Ricky a little bit this year. What have you guys gotten into so far other than snakeheads?
The right week before the Snakehead tournament, me and Ricky almost won the Flounder tournament in Virginia.
I wanted you to talk about that. That's why I brought it up.
Absolutely awesome. We missed that by half an inch, man. And actually, I had a big fish and one. It was shaking. It was shaking hard. I felt that shake. It was pulling my drag even a little bit, but it just came off the hook. I didn't have the hook set. But it's always good and fun fishing with good people. So we came second, and it wasn't bad.
So
Ricky doesn't have much time, so we get to take him downtown a little here on the bridges where I get around my way, and at Eastern Avenue, and then downtown and bridges and catch some stripers and things like that.
I think people really overlook some of the fishing in the harbor, like you're talking about, just from the bank, walking around on the sidewalks and sitting on the bench. I mean, there's tons of places down.
Fishing in the harbor. No fish there. No fish there. No fish
we're gonna play that angle. You're right, man. There ain't nothing in the harbor, man. Don't waste your time down there. They done caught them all up and killed them all. There ain't nothing left.
Okay, hurry up. I gotta go fish. Hurry up.
So Roman, when did you catch your first snakehead? How long ago was that?
So Cass probably remembers that he took me out, and I was bugging him, and he said, "All right, fine, come down." I took off work. I begged him to get a cornflower in the car because I just love that dude. I mean, it's just, if you want to have a good time fishing and blast your ass off, you take a cornflower.
We definitely had that day. There is no doubt about that.
Man.
Gosh.
And we just tore them up. It was a small one, but it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fish. I remember we changed locations. We went to one of the bridges, and that same day, I hit one on a frog. And Cass still shares that picture with a light green frog with my snakehead. All the time, but it's okay.
I will never forget your face when we went over to Blackwater and Cornflower was there in this pickup, and I said, "You ever seen one over 15?" And you said, "Are you kidding me?" And I remember you got up in that truck and you picked, I can't remember, it was a 17 pounder or 17 and a half. It was over 17. I remember that fish was.
Over 17. Yeah, corns was big.
Yeah, but I remember you picked that thing up and you're like, good God, man, this is all I want to do is catch one like this, man.
Yeah,
because, that place that I took us that day was a new place for me. And, I was kind of doing what the man had asked us to do, which was go there and remove the fish from the pond, because they were having some issues with it.
That's right.
And when we got down there, I mean, I forget what we had, but it was a pile, man. I don't remember.
It was a pile. It was cast after cast. Once you found them in the bank, it was cast after cast. They were just stacking up, and we were pulling them out.
And the craziest thing is, like when I was first showing you, I wanted you to see just the sheer numbers that were in something like that. You know what I'm saying? And that pond got like that in a matter of maybe 3 years. That pond got just overrun with, and there was nothing left in it. So that was good for us to go and do that.
Now all happening like that on the west side. I mean, I never caught so many fish anywhere. Talking about snakeheads than this year on the west side. I mean, I took the third in the anglers, and I almost won that thing. I just lost the fish right by the bank. But that was the beginning of the season where I came with almost 310s. One was 11.7 or 11.4, something like that. There's so many giants here that some areas don't have bait for rockfish to come. That's my kind of like a thinking about it. I can't catch a rockfish while I've been catching them really good. And the reason for that is not because there's no rockfish, it's because there's no bait, and they will not chase the bait to the corners. And I used to catch rockfish left and right of some areas, and they're just not there nowhere.
And this is in the Upper Bay you're talking?
Oh, yeah, this is talking about just, right around here, right around my way. I mean, I live in Baltimore City, right around here, all the little small rivers and,
I see Ricky just tuned in. What's going on, Rick? We've been talking bad about you this whole show. Look, Roman, I don't want to interrupt you real quick just for 1 second. I want to talk about something really special going on by the CCA of Maryland. Our good friend Dave Sikorsky. Eddie will help me out there a little bit with it. It's called the Great.
Talk to your mic.
Okay. It's called the Great Chesapeake Invasive Count. So what we want you to do is, as you're harvesting these fish, you can register these fish over at the CCA website. Eddie, what was that?
It's ccamd.org/count.
So you put that in your search bar. It'll take you right over there, and then you can register your fish, okay? So what you're going to do here is you're going to register the length. You can give them the girth. You don't have to give them your exact spot. We would like to have the river, you know what I mean, that you caught it from, so that we can just kind of collect the data from there. It also gives you an option to check the guts, okay? So if you want to do some gut sampling and try to see what the snakeheads are eating where you are, I mean, go ahead and do that. We're also checking bass, too, to see what's...
That's another entry, right, when you do that?
Yeah, it's 2 entries when you do that.
Yes. So, Dave Sikorsky and the CCA, they're doing some wonderful things. If you weren't here at our last tournament, we had fresh snakehead on the grill from Traeger. It's just a good time, And the next tournament, hopefully, maybe Dave will get back down here with us again. And we got some stuff coming up with him up the Upper Bay later on in the year, which we can't get into right now, but some big-time stuff. So, if you would like to win a Dart Spin Pro, okay, Gary's going to show you with what that lure
Yep.
is.
Yes, he swims like that, actually.
So, everybody has really been doing good here with the hyperelastics in the last couple
Oh,
of weeks.
my God, they've been
Everybody's
tearing
been
them
catching them. We don't have much left here. You know what I
No.
mean? And we're praying to the Lord that we get us a delivery here sooner than later.
Just because I
So,
bought them all.
of course, you and Ricky, that's Ricky's favorite
That's
thing
Ricky's
now,
go-to, and
That's
Hey,
mine
that was
too.
I caught all the big fish on that lure at the tournament, so that was it. But I just like them white, and then I use white with the chartreuse, flip and tail, and silver blade.
This one right here in my hand, actually, I think it's this
Yeah.
right there with the chartreuse tail and the it's that pearlish body.
That's right.
I like this
Yeah.
because it glows in the dark also.
Yeah, well, there's two. There's
Yeah,
one that's
that's
pearl, and
the
there's
best
one that
boat.
glows.
And
Yeah,
the
those
reason I
are
like that
working
glow in
good.
the dark is I don't know if anybody's tried glow in the dark lures here, like shallow diving crankbaits and glow in the dark rattle traps and stuff
Right.
like that. It actually shows up in the black water. You
so-
can't see it visually, but you can see the hue. You know what I'm saying?
So what do they have to say to win that hyperelastics?
I don't know. What do you want to say, Gary?
Ricky's favorite.
Ricky's favorite.
Oh, Ricky's favorite. I like it. All right, let's
Give
get back
Ricky
to
a
what we're
little
doing.
plug.
So your biggest dragon that you've caught yet? Well, before I go into that, we were talking about the striped bass. So here's some news. Okay, we got some studies going on right now, and they just did a little bit in the Bush River and up Otter Creek and places like that. So the next sampling that we're going to be doing, I think, is in another 2 weeks, and we're going to be on the flats, and we're going to be surveying what we're seeing there in the grass, and we may take another run back up into the Bush River. Talking to the biologist today, the average fish that they were getting in the Bush River was over 7 pounds. So that's pretty alarming that these fish have gotten that big that fast in that particular river system. They did tell me also that they probably missed 100. They were shocking that they just couldn't get to. And these were also big and bigger fish. The biggest fish that they got in the survey, I believe, was close to 14 pounds.
And where was this at?
And up in the Bush River, the feeder
River.
creeks up there. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up fishing the Bush River. I know the bass fisher there was amazing at one time. Call it what you want. But I'll tell you what, I mean, just talking to my friends I grew up with in Edgewood that are fishing Otter Creek and places like that, I mean, they are just absolutely smoking the fish, And I know, Roman, you've got some pretty sweet spots you can get some access to. What is the biggest snakehead you've gotten personally so far?
My personal was around 16 pounds.
Around, what is it, 50 pounds?
16.
15, that's a good
It's almost
fish.
16 pounds, yeah.
Almost 16.
That's big fish.
And that-
That's before they got to the west. Well, I think they were here on the west side, but I got that one over where you guys at.
Okay.
At
How long? How long
I
was
think
it?
it was like 32 and a half, almost 33 inches. I don't remember the
That's
range.
one
Honestly,
thing
I
that's
just go
amazing
by
about
weight.
these fish is you can have a 33-inch fish that's only 6 pounds, and then you can have a 28-inch fish that's 11 pounds. That's always boggled my mind about these fish. How much their weight can fluctuate just from the length
Yeah.
of it.
I think
that's
for
crazy,
me the coolest thing about the fish is that you just can't nail it down, man. You just can't nail it
Yeah.
down. You think you got it nailed down, and the wool gets pulled over your eyes, and boom, you're done. Kind of like the tournaments, you know what I mean? We had the first tournament here. A bunch of guys did great. Those guys,
A few guys did great.
well, that's
in
what
the
I'm
first
saying. The
tournament.
first tournament, a couple guys did real good.
A lot of fish like bass and stripers and bluegills and stuff, you can kind of pattern them because there's certain times you're doing certain things. Snakeheads do whatever the weather's doing.
Patterns always
You,
change.
everything
kind of
changes.
got a good point there,
Cloudy
you
day
know?
they're doing one thing, sunshiny day they're doing another thing.
Yeah, I mean,
hot, cold, they just change up with the weather.
They could be ready to rip loose right now and get cold, and they're not. You know what I mean? And I think that has a lot to do with what's been going on this year here. And a lot of guys are saying, "Oh, just not as many fish." I don't know where you're fishing, but we're seeing plenty of fish.
Well,
you know,
it's crazy because this spring we've seen plenty of fish.
Yes.
We've seen a lot of fish. It's just not been as many hookups as in previous years. But a big part of that, I think, was how late the spring was. How late spring was transitioning to summer. It took forever to get from that 70-degree mark up to where it is to 90 degrees now.
Well, we had fry bowls last year in April.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I
Early
took
April.
pictures of it.
Early
Took video
April.
of it. And I didn't see a fry bowl until the day before
It was.
our last tournament.
Yeah. It was between
I'm
tournaments.
sure there was some there, but I didn't see any personally.
Right.
I know. Just driving around yesterday, looking at some stuff in some ditches in the evening. I mean, I didn't have a rod with me, and I wished I had a gig with me. I can tell you that. I mean, I was blown away at the amount of fish that were just shooting down the ditch as I'm driving by. Roman, you've had the opportunity to fish some ditches down here, haven't you?
Yeah, fishing ditches. I haven't got a chance to shoot them yet, but I can't wait. That's my next thing to do.
I was just about to ask
Yeah, I
you.
fish the ditches with you a lot. I do a lot of things with Rick when it comes around. he just drops me off, and then he takes off for 30 minutes because he can't park there. And then he just rolls back, come on back in, and I'll come back in. So sometimes with fish, sometimes without. But it's fun.
He'll leave you for 30 minutes and come back with a cooler load of fish, and you still got nothing, right?
Either that or leaves for an hour, and he's done ate a cheesesteak and fell asleep in the truck.
Kaz will leave you for 30 minutes. You come back, all your candy's gone.
You're being killed by mosquitoes over there, slowly.
So let me ask you this, Roman. If a new guy walks up to you right now and he says, hey, man, I seen you on Facebook before. I seen you here before. I don't know what to get, man. What are 3 lures I should buy to go snakehead fishing? What are you going to tell that guy?
So the simplest lure, I think, for me is a 4-inch paddle tail, and I like it in white. If they don't bite, put it on white. And you can put it on the jig head with the hook sticking up on top, or you can put it on an inline hook with one of those corkscrews. You screw on top, you hide the hook, that way you can run it weedless. That's everybody's go-to. You can set it up properly weedless. Every time I take my girlfriend fishing, that's what I set up for her. The less problems for me. So she's whipping it out there and reeling it in. That's number 1. Number 2 would be something with the blade, either hyperelastic or map spinner, something with the blade to get their attention, some kind of spinner bait. And number 3 will be top water frog. I will go with a tackle frog. That's my go-to. I like the maraca. It makes a whole lot of noise, and that's one way to piss off a big giant so you can come shooting over.
I like them tackle frogs too myself.
That's my go-to.
So let me ask you. I know you throw a lot of bait. So as far as live bait goes, do you use much live bait at all, Roman, or are you pretty much strictly back to just using lures all the time?
I use live bait, and I'm not going to lie, I only use live bait for the Anglers Tournament when the weather turned to crap, and the last week and a half, nobody was catching anything. I found a bluegill pond, and I was tearing out bluegills and just live lining them and putting them on a hook. And that's how I actually lost one of the biggest fish I ever had hooked. I mean, it was right in front of my face. He was never hooked. He just swallowed the bluegill, and when I ripped it out of his mouth, every single fin on that bluegill was turned backwards, so it just slid out of his mouth. But I had him on the hook for a good 2-3 minutes. I mean, I guess not on the hook, but I had a bait in his mouth. He wouldn't let it go. He was fighting me and everything, and then whoop, that was it.
All right, Roman, let me take a break from. Let's give away something else here again. So we're going to give away a Z-Man Micro Chatterbait, okay? Just so you know, this giveaway is sponsored by Horseman Enterprises. Look, if you need a custom crab boat, if you have crashed your boat, broke your motor, or anything like that, call Benny down there at Horseman Enterprises, and he will get you fixed up with a new rig, get your motor fixed, and get you back going where you need to be. I can tell you right now, he has built some absolutely beautiful crabbing boats here, and what we got sailing here in the little chop tank and the big chop tank is just amazing what these guys are doing. These are 2 of the hungriest brothers I've ever seen in my life, you know? Alex and Benny, I mean, they will go above and beyond to make sure that you get what you need. I can tell you that. So
you think they're hungry? I make their lunch most days.
I know. So here's what we're going to do with that micro chatter. I just want you to put Horseman Enterprises in the comment, and you can have that chatter. First person to do it. Roman, so you do any crabbing at all? You like crabbing? Let's talk a little bit about crabbing. I know you and your pop, you had some crabbing stuff going on at one time.
My dad had a little commercial thing going on, and that's before I got into really good, fishing and all that. And then he sold that thing. It wasn't for him. He made his money in license, and that was good for that. But I do a lot of crabbing with Rick, actually. Every time I come down there for the tournament, especially now that we have one-day tournament, because Sunday is a good day, we do a lot of crabbing down there with Rick. So.
You been catching any crabs? How's it been for you guys?
Nah, this year I've only been stopping by and eating his crabs. I haven't been going with them.
And the reason I ask you that is because everybody keeps asking me, where are the crabs? Where are the crabs? Where are the crabs? And really, folks,
They're in the water.
They're in the water, but there's just not a lot of numbers, you know. And back to this whole survey that we're doing in the Upper Bay with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and DNR, around DNR, is that, we're really looking in these grasses to see what's going on with the year-young crabs, the year-young rockfish. Something's just not adding up. And I think that I've made enough stink about it and others that now we're looking into that. You know, we really immediately were looking at the angler, looking at the commercial guy, trying to put blame on the charter captains. And I really think there's a lot of other contributing factors to the decline in the rockfish. And I honestly believe that some of that decline is due to the result of the introduction of the snakehead. And I just have to go there with that.
I think it's all invasives for you've got the blue cats out in the bay. I mean, they get huge out in the bay. We've all talked about it before. But when we've talked about this, the snakeheads are in the mud flats, point blank period.
When you're introducing fish that get 70, 80 pounds,
Right.
and you're introducing fish that get up to 20 pounds that are aggressive feeders, and there's numbers of them,
It's going
got
to
to
change.
affect something.
Yeah.
They're not eating each other; they'd all be gone.
You know, I know we were talking here, me and you personally, about, you know, why we weren't seeing any snakeheads here for a little bit. And I think you had a really kind of legitimate point here, you know. And I'm going to ask you, Gary, for those folks that may think that, and we were talking about that, what do you think contributed to maybe not seeing as many snakeheads? You said it earlier. They ate what?
They ate everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You
they,
know, I mean, they don't particularly. We never really, until the end of last year, ever saw carp in any of them's stomach content.
Right.
Then we started seeing carp and shad, which we never saw before.
this year, a lot
And
of
that's
that.
because the majority of everything else is gone. I think, you know, they're down. It's time to go to the grocery store. You
Well,
know, they're down to vegetables. All the meat's gone.
we noticed, you know, as these carp numbers came up, we started to think some of these things, you know.
All the roast beef and turkey's gone, man. They're down to bologna.
So we've
looking
asked
for
this
something better.
question and doing some research on that. Would fish relocate because of depleting a food source? And the answer is absolutely yes.
I mean, people would relocate when the food source is
Absolutely.
gone. Why wouldn't
Right,
fish do it?
right.
It's natural instinct.
You know, I was thinking about something the other day. You know, everybody wants to see the big fish let go, you know? And I'm not saying not to let them go, but I was thinking about just hypothetically, you know, when we go deer hunting, Gary, we're not shooting little scrappy bucks. We're waiting to remove a mature buck to let the
Well,
genes continue to go, right?
Hold on. When you guys are out deer hunting, you're not shooting anything, Kaz. Let's be honest about this.
That's like taking a cap gun deer hunt when you got calves.
Would you say it's like taking a cap gun and cast when you go deer?
Success rate's higher with the cap gun.
You're an ass, man. Oh, God. But you know what? I was thinking about that. Why wouldn't you want to harvest the bigger fish to allow your smaller fish to,
Well,
you know?
I've always wondered that about the rockfish. You know, when I was growing up, you couldn't keep a rockfish over 28 inches anytime.
Right.
And now, after the moratorium, they opened it up. You can catch those monsters and keep them. That's your breeding stock, man.
Right, exactly.
To me, it's never made sense. You know, if you want to have a lottery and let a few of them be harvested, I get it. But as far as just having an open season on them, I don't understand it. I don't care if they've spawned already or not. That's where your breeding stock comes from. And if you're doing that with an invasive species and you're letting the big ones go, then you've got a larger breeding stock.
And
So,
boom,
but,
boom,
you
boom,
know,
boom. There
people
it
do-
is.
And that's why there's choice. You know, you can do
That's
what you
right.
want.
I don't know if
Myself,
anybody's
I
had
don't.
an opportunity to watch the Joe Love video on YouTube, but it's been recently updated. You know, so there's a lot of new info in there. Some recent data collected on the Potomac is showing the numbers are going up fast. And they believe some of that is due to the fact that the bow guys have left. They're seeing a lot of snakeheads over there in their bass tournaments now. At least the last couple weeks, they've seen a lot more than they've been seeing, you know. So I think, I don't know, man. I mean, I just feel like I've got to do my part to harvest some fish. You know, that's just how I personally feel. Roman, let me ask you something, okay? I'm going to ask you a hard question. And I know that you have the same feeling that I have.
Maybe. I hope.
Well, I think we're on the same page. I don't want to waste fish either. I know how you feel about that. So, you know, when you're out there and you're fishing with your snakeheads and stuff, what do you do most? Do you keep your fish? I mean, tell me about how you feel.
Yeah, I keep most of my fish, and the reason for that is, like you said, you're 100% right. I don't waste fish if there's nobody to give those to, or if nobody else wants them and you have plenty in your freezer, I let them go. But that's very rare. I have very, very many friends and family, and I give it to churches a lot. In my church, I give it to them, and they always welcome to take a whole cooler full of fish because they feed a bunch of folks themselves. So 99.9% of the time, all my friends know that even if they don't want to keep it, most likely I'll take it after, you know, their limit and my limit and everybody's limit, and give it to good folks in church or something like that. So I keep them.
That's really a good thing to do, and I have a lot of respect for that, you know. And I'm in the same boat, you know. Fortunately, I've got plenty of places to move the fish, you know, so I keep my fish too. But just keeping it honest, you know, if I had a 5 or 6 pounder and I didn't have anywhere to go with it, last place I'm gonna do is throw it in the middle of the road for somebody to run over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just not doing
Exactly.
that. You know, there's plenty of people out there that want something to eat, and
There's a lot of people who never tried snakehead.
Right.
I've got a
That's
list,
exactly right.
list of people waiting now.
Yeah.
and even like here, you know, I mean, we know we're not going to deplete them. I mean, look at how many thousands and thousands have been harvested here, and the numbers are just still here. And we know the numbers are still here because the relative abundance that we're still surveying is not coming up. We're still seeing depletion in some of the species, you know? Before we go any further, let's talk about our good friend Kevin over there at Bassrack Outdoors. See this pretty hat right here? You can get that right there from Bassrack Outdoors and our good friend Mr. Kevin. So look, we're going to be giving away a Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog. Look, if you're looking for hats, apparel, shirts, stickers, I mean, he's got like the coolest stickers, you know, crab picking champion, you know. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that he creates and markets. So
Shirts, spices.
that's what I'm going to say next, the spices. So he's got a whole line of spices, specifically some are made for snakehead, some are made for other things, but you can certainly use the spices on anything that you want to use them on. So if you haven't had a chance to try any of the spices that Kevin has, I can tell you right now, we had some of that here, and we put that on the Traeger grill when we were cooking for everybody. I even threw oysters on the grill for everybody, and I'll tell you what, it was absolutely delicious. And I think the coolest thing about his marketing angle is using his grandmother and his grandfather, you know, their recipes and their blends. You know, I think that's really cool that he's passing that on down the line and he's being public with it. A lot of people here on the Eastern Shore, and you know this, Eddie, they won't share their recipes. They won't share how they make stuff, you know?
What are you trying to say, Kaz? What are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say you're holding back, man. I want the recipe, bro. But no, I mean, so let's give away a Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog. And Eddie, what do you want to put in contact?
They've got to say. Oh, I'm trying to remember what Kevin's grandfather's name was on the spice. Orville. With an A.
Yeah, with an A.
Arville's. What was it? Arville's blend. Arville's. I'm trying to remember what the name of the spice was.
I did good to remember that.
How about this? I love spice.
There we go. I love spice.
Okay.
I dropped the ball on that one. I love spice.
Very good, very good. So, Raymond, let's talk about hunting. You do any hunting or anything like that?
I used to be a lot more into hunting, but I live in Baltimore City. It's more, you know, I gotta do my party and then I get fishing in between. I ain't got time to
do my party and then get fishing in the city.
You know, I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I shot a deer. I shot a turkey. I never shot a thicker deer. I want to do that. I've done it. I love it. I can sit
Come
on
down, man. You can't,
for hours and hours.
Can't get one if you don't get it.
You won't get a break from me from now on. Now
you got one of the best sticker guides right here sitting next to me, Mr. Gary. I'll tell you right now, he'll put you on a deer.
Well, another one, you know, your cousin, he's not bad at it either, so I've been bugging him for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So what's that?
Look, let me tell you about my cousin Ricky, okay?
He's his cousin. What more you need to say?
Look, if it's brown, it's
sorry,
down. Man. I can tell you that, man. You know, I mean, if it's meat, I have never seen somebody with 5 freezers in their basement full of deer meat, turkey, flounder fillets, all kinds of stuff, you know? Not that many, but whatever. But, I mean, he makes a lot of burgers. I can tell you that. That's the thing he always gives to me is burgers. I bet you last year he killed a few sika. I know that. He killed a few whitetail. I know that. So, let me just figure he probably killed 5 or 6 deer last year. You know what I mean? That's a pretty good pile of deer. How many did you kill? 6, wasn't it?
No, I had 8 last year.
8.
Great year.
Oh, you
Best
probably did
year.
better than Ricky then.
Do you want to talk about what we were talking about before the
Yeah,
show real quick while we're on top of the deer?
If anybody listening that hunts deer has looked at the new regs this year.
Oh, yeah.
But Blackwater has always been separate because it's federal land. No longer is that the case. Whatever you shoot on Blackwater goes towards your state quota. So your quota now is 3 stags, 1 for shotgun, 1 for rifle, actually muzzleloader, and 1 for bow. So it's 4. You can't rifle on Blackwater, so you can get
shotgun.
That doesn't count. But if you get a muzzleloader on stag on Blackwater, that's your state one too.
Yep.
It's basically limits cut in half.
That's a big change.
Wow.
You know, you can get more than anybody's going to eat in a year.
Oh yeah, you can still. I mean, when you put that together with whitetail, you can still shoot plenty of deer.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you shoot 3 or 4 deer a year for yourself, I mean, that's a lot of meat, man.
4 seasons, 3. So that's 12 sick of deer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
And basically 12 whitetail too. So
no way can feed the dwarfs with all that. You know.
So Roman, you know, I want to talk about. Gary wants to ask you something about something, so I'm not going to. Yeah, something about something. I'm going to let him talk to you about this.
You kind of made a new little tool thing, man. Want to hear about that? I'm going to show it to the folks, and I'm going to let you explain it.
So where it came from is me and Rick was fishing one day, and we got really on a good bite. And I'm telling you, it was a 2-day tournament, and we were just tearing them up. The first day we had like 46 fish, and the next day we had like 40-some fish. And every single fish that Rick caught, he needed assistance because he was running the motor, so he needed assistance. He needed me to help him remove the lure. And that took a lot of my time, from putting my rod down, turning around, helping him remove the lure, and so forth. So I wanted to really make something that would help me keep that fish right there in one hand, and the other hand just removes the lure. Well, I tried the springers that they had, and the springers worked pretty good. I'm not going to put the springers down. They just stick it in their mouth. But it only works on the fish about 5-6 pounds and less. Anything bigger than that they will bite down on it, and they will put those springers down, and you better watch your fingers then. So then I figured out how to there was a tool already existing, something close to it, and I just had to completely redesign the size, the handle, the clicking mechanism, so it doesn't slip, so it's precise and so forth. And I found the right manufacturer. I went back and forth with the manufacturer for about 3 years until it was the way I wanted it. I got the right patent on it. It's patent pending. And now I'm finally able to sell it to an average angler. The tool goes for $39.99, and anybody can reach out to me or go to Facebook at Snakehead Jawbreakers and message me, and I can get one arranged for them.
Stainless steel. Works great. I've got one. I love it. I used it. Actually, my cousin caught a 32.5 inches. That's what we used to get the hook out. And
right. Well,
I was wondering where you came up with the idea, and then I found out you got the medical background.
I'm
not even going to ask you what you were studying.
That's literally what TJ just put in the comments.
Say,
TJ just said that. I can see your medical history coming through on that thing.
We're not going to ask you what you were studying.
I will. What were you studying, man?
Surgery.
Oh, God.
Oh, my Lord.
But the other thing that happens is if you use it, like if you asked me what my favorite bait was, and first thing came to my mind was the 3.5, 4-inch pedal tail. I use quality pedal tails like Kytex and softer plastics to get that pedal thumping in the back. When you get that, you get reaction of a fish. Most of the time, when you get a snakehead to bite a soft bait, we all know what happens to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to run the same way again. Now you might get lucky to catch another fish, but I think that you need to have the right bait set up on the right hook so it runs the right way. And that helps you save your baits by, you can use the bait for 3-4 fish instead of just one.
One thing
Go ahead.
One thing I found out about these Roman is that a lot of times you get a snakehead that can clamp that jaw down. It's hard to get the mouth open. So this is pretty thin, but it's still hard to get in their mouth. If you get one like that, you can shove this in the back of the gill and open them up from the inside, which is real good. Sometimes if they got a frog or something, they got it buried down in there, you can put this from behind them, open their mouth. It gives you a lot more room to reach your hand down in their mouth.
I meant to ask him about that and tell him about what you were doing, coming through the gills doing that.
Yeah, I find sometimes that it works a little better from the gills because it just gives you more room. You're not reaching around this being open.
Yeah,
it works just as good either way.
Hold the fish with one hand and have another hand to hold the plier.
I'm gonna use Cass here and show everybody how it works. I'm going in for the gills though.
Now you have some tutorials over there on Jawbreaker, and we've shared some to SnakeheadLife.com and Blackwater's Edge and Bait Boyz and all the other flat platforms that we got.
That's right, just to show an angler how to pretty much use it, be comfortable with it. Try to break it. I haven't had any negative feedbacks about it yet.
That's pretty
I tell people if you break it and you have problems with it, you message me, you'll get a new pair. I designed this. I'm not a businessman. I have a decent job and I'm happy with my job. I'm not a business. I don't even know how to do this business stuff. I really designed this to save the lure and help the angler to get that bait out of there and back in the water to get them, because you know how snakeheads bite. They bite for 20 minutes, they'll turn off for an hour, and then they'll bite for an hour again. You gotta work that out. And sometimes they'll eat your lure. And if you don't have 2 pairs of pliers, well, good luck.
Right.
That's true.
Right. And really, if you think, and really, if you think about it, if you had to buy 2 pairs of pliers, good pliers, to do what you're aiming to do, you've saved money at $39.99 where I'm from, because I know I bought pliers before that were $35 and $40 for a pair of nice pliers. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
Flogs,
really,
three flogs equals the price of that. You save 3 flogs, and that will be $40 right there.
Well,
Tackle flogs are like $16 a piece.
that's what I'm saying. The price point that you got right there is amazing. And I want to give a little shout out to my cousin too, because I know JR has been moving some for you up there. And he's been plugging them a lot, And I can tell you what, if you're looking for some custom chatterbaits and things like that, don't be afraid to look up my cousin J.R. Witzel at Jigged Up Customs. I mean, he's got a lot of good stuff up there that you can see too. Roman, let me stop for 1 second. I want to talk about my good friend Roy Bradshaw down here in Church Creek. Roy Bradshaw's Body Shop. Look, if you get caught down here in a bad place, a bad position, or deep in a ditch, or your car's filling up with water because you didn't put the brake on at the ramp, you know who you're calling? You're calling our good friend Roy Bradshaw, Bradshaw's Towing. Look, we're going to give away, on behalf of Mr. Bradshaw this week, a pack of Snakehead Destroyers. You were just talking about paddle tails, right? Look at these beautiful things right here. These things are amazing. I know Kevin and a bunch of them guys over there have been using them, and we know a ton of people here that are just knocking them out the park with this slim. I mean, it's just a little bit different than a Kitech. It's just a little bit downsized. It's a thinner body, and durability as far as, is it going to hold up? Yeah, man. We got plenty of people that are throwing this bait, and I know we're selling them as fast as we can get them in the door.
Yep.
And we got
they work great.
We got other people that've been asking, can they get them for their shop for wholesale? So we're gonna start working on some of that too. And we're gonna start getting these up to the north for you guys, so you guys can have them in the upper bay to throw. So
What do they got to say, Kaz?
I love Snakehead Destroyers swim
There
baits.
you go. Easy enough.
I love Snakehead Destroyer swim baits. It's that easy. Roman, the whole tournament thing. Do you think that fishing tournaments has made you, how do I want to say it?
I'll tell you what.
Are you more enthused? Are you more enthused now than you were when I took you in 2016?
Yeah, because I don't fish for the fish, and I don't fish to be famous. The fish that I catch, I fish for the fun. I fish for making new friends. I fish to have a good time, and that's the event that brings everybody together. I met a Ukrainian guy at the tournament. Didn't even know that there was another Ukrainian guy fishing. So just small things like that.
Who was that? Was that the red coat? Our red coat
That's
fisherman?
right. Yeah, yep.
Simon's
right.
Ukrainian? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
I didn't know what he was, but I know his accent. Like, when I talk to him, I just love accents. Like, some of the shore people here, they got such a deep accent, I can't understand what they're saying sometimes.
What you talking about?
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then when I met Simon, I was like, man, this guy's just really a down-to-earth guy. And then I find out he's got a YouTube channel, and you told me a Twitch thing or
Simon actually
something?
fishes live on Twitch sometimes too, under the Red Coat Angler, I believe. So he does a pretty good job fishing carp.
I'm glad you guys made a connection. I think you guys could really, really do something, honestly.
Yeah, but this is the reason, like I said, why I joined these tournaments. I don't fish for money. I mean, I'll take it. Trust me. I love winning the
Roman,
tournament.
if you didn't want to get famous, you shouldn't have won the tournament, my friend.
Right.
That's right.
You shouldn't have made this tool either.
Yeah, right. Well, the tool is to help everybody. It's not to make me famous in no way. It's honestly to help everybody to make their life easier.
Look, Roman, I want to thank you for everything today. I'm not going to keep you anymore. We got to touch base on the fishing club. We're going to touch base on the upcoming tournaments. Got a lot going on down here, but look, from the bottom of my heart, I consider you a great friend. I've enjoyed your friendship, and hey, man, we're all on this journey together. You know what I mean? Really, that's what we are. So let's do it. Let's bond. Let's make friends. Let's carry on, and let's have a good time. Roman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you very much for having me, and I had a blast talking to you guys, and I'll be seeing you shortly, probably next week, and I'll be down there.
Sounds good.
buddy.
Sounds good. It's been a good day, and we're glad you were part of it. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
See you, bub. So, Eddie, let's talk about a few things before we sign out of here today with our last giveaway from the Bait Boyz. Let's talk about the SummerSlam, where we are with all that.
So,
points.
yeah, let's talk about the Snakehead SummerSlam. That is coming up July 31st. We feel like we just finished.
I know, man. I know.
I know it's we intentionally
Fishing club next week.
Well, no, it's not next week. Well, we intentionally made it so that there's 6 weeks between each tournament, so everybody would have time to rest and recuperate. Because it's tough when you go fishing for an entire day straight.
Look at
it's
little
hard.
Willie. He was passed out in the backseat for hours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard on you. But no, I mean it may be 6 weeks between each tournament, but it moves fast. So get signed up. It's just like before. $50 to enter. The Snakehead SummerSlam, sponsored by Angler Sports Center. Remember, you guys are fishing for the Angler of the Year trophy, the Snakehead Angler of the Year trophy, sponsored by CCA Maryland's the Great Chesapeake Invasive Count, and the current leaders.
Tell me a little bit about the prize that may be coming for the Angler. Have you heard anything on that, or is it still a mystery?
No. Dave talked about it on the show last week or the week before. It's a bronze statue.
Oh, I thought he said it was 14 karat gold.
Yeah,
dip.
I don't think so. I think your memory's a little fuzzy on that. But it's a bronze statue.
My memory's always fuzzy.
We'll get it plated and send you the bill.
That's right. No, the CCA Maryland's getting a bronze Snakehead trophy for the winner of the Angler of the Year, and we're also doing, of course, our championship belt for the Angler of the Year. And our current leader is actually a tie between Justin Klein and Tom Maliszewski for 214 points each. Let's see. Calcuttas, same as before, $10 each to get into them. Heaviest of the tournament, sponsored by Bassrack Outdoors. Longest of the tournament, sponsored by Horseman Enterprises. The most harvested, minimum of 8 inches, sponsored by the Land Group. Heaviest of the year, sponsored by the Bait Boyz. And the current leader for the heaviest of the year is Matt Fletcher with 7.75 pounds.
And Medford's Outdoors. If you need a custom rod, make sure you reach out to Matt. He'll get you taken care of.
And, of course, the free-to-enter 17 and under kids division, which Little Willie tore up this past tournament, sponsored by Roy Bradshaw's Body Shop.
Eddie, let's talk about this points thing here for a minute.
Okay.
I've had a lot of folks reaching out to me about how this point system works, how it breaks down.
Yeah, it's very simple.
So
It's very simple. Everybody who shows up for the tournament, once you're signed up, as long as you show up, you get 10 points off right across the board, no matter what, whether you turn in a fish or not. You only get points for being on the leaderboard if you actually turn in a fish for the tournament. So that's why I think Tom came in first in the first tournament. Justin actually finished in, I can't remember if it's third or fourth.
Yeah, he wasn't up there.
No, he's like third. I think he's third in the first tournament and fourth in the second, something like that. But he's actually tied with Tom. I think Tom only turned in one fish this past tournament and was like 10th or 11th on the leaderboard. But that's why they're tied in points. So you only get leaderboard points, which is you get 100 for first, 99 for second, 98 for third, all the way down for as many until we've never had 100 people in the tournament yet, but if there was 100 people and you were in last place, you'd have 1 point if you turned into fish.
Now, here's the thing. I just want to throw this out there. You see Justin, you see Tom tied up. We come into this next tournament, and they skunk out.
Yeah,
everything changes.
Exactly right.
We don't want you to think that there's a big enough spread that you can't have a chance to get back in there, because that's not the case.
What was the spread on the first tournament? Because Tom caught 5 fish. What was the spread between first and second place?
It was only 1 point, because it's still 100. It's still the same point system. 199, 98. So it was only 1 point between first and second in the first tournament, and then but the way with Justin placing in both tournaments the way he did, that bumped him up into a tie with Tom. Right. And so that's why it's worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, if Tom,
it's anybody's game.
Look,
it's still anybody's game,
If Tom skunks out the next tournament, then it's going to hurt him badly in the Angler of the Year sports. I mean, the Angler of the Year points system. So I mean, that's just the way the tournament system is structured across all 4 tournaments. But like Roman was saying, let's say you win a tournament and you didn't fish in one of the tournaments. You could still win one of the tournaments, win $1,000. I mean, you might not get a championship belt at the end of the year, but that's still $1,000.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we're giving away a good check when they fish. We're giving them free goodies every morning when they're going out to fish. I mean, there's a lot of just stuff that we're trying to give back to these anglers that are participating.
That's it.
Now,
we're trying to make it as many different possible ways for you to win.
And as far as the kids division goes, a lot of folks are saying they have to sign up, they have to do that. No, here's the deal. You be here at the weigh-in with your child at 4:30, and you say you fish legal waters, we're going to go with it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not. I mean, the kids it's free to enter. I'm not going to argue with a kid about it.
Right. So I had a couple people ask me about that. Well, can we still go? Yes, you can still go. If you can't get signed up, you can't register. Just come here.
The kids is separate. That we did it that way so they didn't have to be at the captain's meeting at 5 a.m. because it's hard to get a kid up at 5 a.m.
I mean, the rest of the rules pretty basic. You can fish anywhere as long as it's public accessible.
Anywhere in Dorchester County.
You can stand on private land as long as I can get there by kayak or a boat or canoe or whatever.
We try to keep it as simple as possible. And we had one question at the captain's meeting this past tournament. What if somebody is fishing? It's a public river, but there's an obstruction that people in a kayak can't get to, but you can only get to it from private land if you have access. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's still public waters. There's no way for us to say that somebody couldn't fish that.
Yeah, if a big tree fell across the river and you can't get up there because it's too skinny, I mean, that's not That's
You're
not
in a
that's-
kayak, you just forward your kayak up
Yeah.
across the tree or whatever.
Don't get on the land and walk because you might be in black
one,
water.
one place that exists
Right.
where I fish, and it's Blackwater owns the land, or actually one piece is private, and Blackwater owns the rest. So, it's irrelevant.
Right. But no, it's we try to keep it as simple as possible. So just come out and fish and have a good time.
Yeah.
And like Roman was saying, I mean, just it's for fun. There is some money to be won, but it's for fun. That's the main goal.
So, I want to talk a little about the fishing club. We're doing really
Yep.
good with that. We're gaining members every meeting. So
We're working on some things. We just put a poll in there in the club last week or the week before. I can't remember when I posted the poll, but we had some real good response to that. We've got our definitely our top option is the club wants to do a trash cleanup system somehow. So we're working on
Sponsor,
getting that,
right.
we're working on getting that sorted out. How we're going to get that all put together.
and some other cool things, just touch base. We're going to have an in-house tournament in the club,
Yeah.
and we're going to use what kind of fishing poles? Barbie rods, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, just some fun stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of fun stuff. Family night coming up. We got some charters we're going to schedule with the group to go on. Trips, things like that, day trips. It's going to be really, really fun for
So
everybody.
it's $50 a year to join the Snakehead Life Fishing Club. But if you fish all 4 tournaments, then you're automatically in the fishing club for free. So that's it. So you buy 4, get 1 free.
Let me think. Let's talk about. Is there anything else we need to touch about?
Yes, the angler spotlight of the week from snakeheadlife.com is this photo was submitted by Lenny Zawacki. I hope I said that right, Lenny. And this kid has a pretty nice snakehead there, and that's our angler spotlight of the week, sponsored by the Bait Boyz.
The look on his face. So look, the MEPS Angler of the Week sponsored by the Bait Boyz. Our good friend Mr. Damian Tall. If you need bait, he'll get you straight. It's that simple. So look, if you need snakehead destroyers, need minnows, need anything like that, please reach out to Damian Tall through Facebook or through the Bait Boyz Facebook page, as he is back handling customers at his house again.
Yep.
He'll get you straight with whatever you need. What else you got there, Eddie? Anything else?
So Lenny, stop in here to the store and pick up your MEPS lure, and that's for your angler spotlight of the week. That's all I've got. Gary, anything else you got?
Oh, got something else to give away.
What?
Who are we giving away? Show him that right there.
Oh yeah, that's the MEPS for Lenny. That's Lenny's MEPS.
So you can come down here and you can pick out whichever MEPS you want off the shelf. You can't
Yeah.
have the $12.99 MEPS, but you can have.
Yeah, you
we
can-
had somebody last week. Can I have these $13
No,
ones?
Number
No.
3 map.
You can have any of them that's not one of the tandems.
Right.
The tandems are a different story.
Let me think. I'm trying to think. So up the bay, we've got August 14th coming. Let's talk about that a little bit. Mr.
So-
Scott Skool and what they got going up there with MR Bass.
August 14th is MR Bass's Snakehead tournament. Snakehead. I can't remember the name of their tournament is.
August 14th, we're going to do out of Flying Point
Yeah,
Park.
it's out of Flying
50
Point.
Was it 50 or 100 boats?
They've cut it down to 50 boats and 50 kayaks. if I
Okay, and
remember
then
correctly.
Roy's going to help with.
Roy's helping with the kayak
gum,
division.
and I think that's in Gunpowder. They're going to put in at Dundee, I believe. Now I think originally it was Mariner Point, but they changed that up or something like
Right.
that. I know he's on the podcast watching now, so he might be able to help us out with that. And also, you can reach out to Mr. Scott Sewell. He is the Maryland Bass Conservation
That's
Director.
right. Or to the Maryland Waterways Association.
Yes.
They're also helping out. You can reach out to any of those guys to get your boat signed up for it. Let me announce the winners of all the giveaways real quick. The winner of the Hyperlastics Dartspin Pro was Patrick McMaster. The winner of the Z-Man Micro Chatterbait was Paul Barriger. The winner of the Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog was Mike Dunsmore. And the winner of the Snakehead Destroyer Swimbait was Justin Sellers.
And look, if you want to get some more information, also you can reach out
Talking to your mic,
to
Kaz.
the Maryland Waterways Foundation. They can give you all the information you want on that tournament on August 14th. What is there anything we're missing here?
That's all I've got, I think.
I think I can't do anymore.
We're 2 minutes over an hour here.
I will
so
say this though, it feels really nice sitting here tonight, doesn't it, Gary?
Calcuttas.
he's always got to say something.
If it didn't heat, it's chiggers. If it didn't chiggers, it's ticks. If it didn't ticks, it's metal. If it didn't metal, it's fiberglass.
And it was not that.
Or
It's oyster
wires.
shells,
He's
bro,
got more
wire.
problems than Dick Tracy.
No, what was the old saying? Liver's got Carter pills or something. Carter's got liver pills.
Carter's got
Whatever
liver
it was,
pills, yeah.
right? No, so we got our AC hooked up, man. It's nice in here today, and it
Yeah,
feels really
absolutely.
good. I like it. I just like the fact that we've got this nice little studio here that we can come sit in. We ain't fancy, we ain't professional, but we are good. I will say that. So look, so before we get out of here, we're gonna give away a few crabs. So I always like to give away a couple dozen, so we're going to give away to 2 folks this weekend. We're going to give you each 2 dozen mixed Maryland crabs, so you can pick them up at the crab stand this weekend if you need them. So here are our winners of the free crabs. Malulu Laurie, you get 2 dozen free crabs. Christine White Gaylor, you get 2 dozen free crabs. And look, this weekend, July 4th coming up, it's going to be a crazy, crazy weekend in the crab business. So if you're coming to get crabs, please bear with us as we're going to be busy. We're going to do our best to get you in and out as fast as we can.
You mean people want crabs on a holiday?
I know, man, really?
What's up with that?
Wrong with that, right? But look, we're going to do our best to fill the orders. We're going to have a lot of stuff on the menu that we don't normally have. We're going to have some tuna. We're going to have some rockfish. We're going to have some oysters. Fat-ass super salts. We'll have them. They're just some delicious oysters. # deep cup. I like a deep oyster. I like a lot of meat in my oyster if I'm going to eat it. So make sure you check out some of those fat-ass super salts.
We're not going to be too busy to sing, are we?
No. Do you mean you're singing with me today?
No.
Oh, wait a minute, Gary. Here, I'll tell you what. You just close it out.
I wasn't getting plural on you.
Oh, you mean Eddie's going to sing?
Absolutely not.
My crabs, they have 3 first names. It's heavy, full, and fat. My crabs, they have a 4th name. Absolutely mustard packed. So if you ask me where they're from, they're all from right here on the Eastern Shore. They're guaranteed Maryland #1s. We don't blend crabs. At the crab stand, here's a fact I know for sure you're coming back. Kapow! Kapow! And kapow!
Good night.